on the state say. Remember, at the beginning, I talked about all the things we're going to cover, right? So we did new, right? Then we talked about buying used. Now we're going to talk about financing, which is very important. It comes back in home finance. This exact same thing, okay? So for some of you, you will remember this from grade 11. So a lot of you had Mr. Hudson, so let's see if he taught you some of this stuff, or else I'll have a talk with him. Uh, so principal for us, right, or in general, is the money or amount borrowed. Sometimes it's known as the balance owing. So as time goes by, obviously you're going to owe less and less, hopefully, right, if you make your payment. Interest is the cost of borrowing. Or finance charge. Okay. Both are used. You can use interest, you can use the cost of borrowing the money, or the finance charge. Vehicle loans typically should be paid off in 5 to 7 years. I know if you get a new car, some of them finance it up to 8 years, right? So there are some exceptions, but 5 years is what most banks will allow you actually. They won't go past 5. And the reason is there's a point where your car might be worth less than what you owe them. And they don't want that, because if you ever stop paying, they're not going to get their money back, right? So interest rates are commonly in the range of 3% to 7%. And you're going to be like, Mr. Dirksen, there's 0% financing a brand new Toyota Corolla, whatever. So yeah, it's true. It's there. And but that's only if you buy brand new. And even so, I believe the interest is in the price. They know what they're doing. They really do. And just for today, the understanding interest part, I'm going to skip that for now. I'm going to come back to that once we've done a little bit of examples. I'm going to come back to it and make you understand it a little better. So let's flip over to the page 15 there. And if you're not paying attention, now you want to pay attention, right? Because formulas are here. Okay, loan. The loan, in a sense, is taking the purchase price. I usually just say purchase after this. Purchase minus your down payment. Right? So if you want to buy a car that's 10 grand and you saved up 2 grand, the loan will be 8 grand, right? The bank will have to loan you $8,000 to buy the car. Monthly payment. I use these letters, so I would be very meticulous in writing down the right PMT, that stands for payment. You go purchase. Purchase minus down. What's going on here? There we go. Purchase minus down, you put that in brackets. Make sure it's in brackets, because that has to happen separately from what follows. Times, there's going to be 1,000 here. And at the top, I'm going to use table rate. Table rate. And where's that table found? on page 18. Okay. The table rate only shows up here, only. Like it doesn't show up anywhere else. So don't use it for any other calculations you ever do. It's just here. So next, total paid to the bank. Total paid to the bank. It's essentially taking your payment, right? And you multiply that by 12 months. Make sure you write this down. And then you multiply that by the number of years that it took you to pay it off. So if you think about it, we're only dealing with monthly payments in this course. That's why it's always going to be times 12. And then years. So let's say it took you 5 years. 5 times 12 is 60. Right? You will have made 60 payments of whatever it is. Like we're going to figure out how many dollars you pay. Total interest on loan is TI. And it's basically copy what I'm doing up there. Payment times 12 times years. It's basically the same as up here, just no brackets around them, minus the loan. And here I want you to go up to monthly payment. Where is the loan? Where would you find that number? It's really taking the purchase price minus down payment, which is also part of this formula right here. So this part is called the loan. And these formulas, you need to have them on your study sheet. They're not on any formula sheet whatsoever. I just made them, okay? Interest paid for the first month. This is the formula you use. I, lowercase I like this, is going to be the loan, okay? Multiplied by, watch this, interest rate as a percent. And what do you need to do it to a percentage? You need to divide it by 100, right? And you take that and divide that by 12. Total paid for the car is down, the down payment plus total paid to the bank. So total paid for the car is your down plus, I'm going to put this in brackets, payment times 12 times years. And you will realize that total paid to the bank shows up here already. It just comes back. I hope you got those formulas down. And we're going to put them to the test in a bit. But I want you to understand this, that the payment, any payment you're thinking of, is always taking the lowercase p principal plus lowercase I. What is he talking about? Well, let's make a little visual here. Let's pretend for a second that this is your payment. Okay, this whole bar represents your payment. Right? So let's say it's 300 bucks every month that you're making a payment. Out of the $300, every single month there will be a principal portion and the interest portion of that payment. And this goes to the bank every month. The bank will collect a little sliver, not sliver, actually sometimes it's more than a sliver. But every month the bank just takes some, says thank you very much, thank you very much. And so over time, the interest that they charge you gets smaller and smaller because you owe less and less, right? And we will do this later on. I just need you to understand that the payment has a small principal to it and an interest portion to it, which goes to the bank. The P goes towards the balance owing. Okay. So when you make a $300 payment, I'm just estimating here, it's probably going to be more like $250 go towards paying off your loan, and $50 goes towards their pocket, their profit every month. Okay, and that adds up over time. It could be thousands of dollars when you're done with the loan. Okay, and I'm going to do more of this next week, but today I want to dive in, just use these formulas and answer questions. Make sure this page makes it onto your study sheet, okay? Try to make them fit into a small space if possible, and they come back for home finance so you can double dip, okay? Question 6, page 16, I should say. Example 1. Let's highlight if you have one or underline. It says here you need to borrow a total of $31,500 to buy a new car. The dealership offers you a 5-year loan at an interest rate of 3.5%. Calculate the monthly payment. See monthly payment chart. We will do that in a bit. So I will write out my formula. Payment is equal to the price minus the down, and we multiply that by a table rate, right, divided by 1,000. So in this case, there's no down payment, right? So really, it's 31,500. You're borrowing all of it. And you make sure you put this over 1,000, and then we're going to go get that table rate in a bit. But before we do that, I'll show you just once how to do that. You will match the years it takes you to pay with the interest rate. Oh, this is going to be a problem here when we solve. Let's go a little further off the side here. So years and interest rate, you will match them and get a number from that table that I'm about to show you. In this case, the interest rate is 3.5%, and it takes 5 years to pay it off. It takes 5 years to pay it off, 3.5%. So let's go and get that. Page 18, if you flip, it should be right there. Notice that the interest rate goes all the way to 12%, and my years, it only goes to 5. That's all we can do in this course. So it's 5 years, so I leave my pencil up here by the 5, and then I just go find the interest rate, 3.5 it is. So just come over to 5 years. So when those two match, you can actually circle it if you want. That is the number that we want. And what is that number? What is that number going to tell us? Let's read here. It's the monthly payment per $1,000 of loan, and that includes the principal and the interest. That's why I always make this out of 1,000. Okay, so you're paying $18.19 for every $1,000 of loan. So let's bring that up here. 1819. Okay, and now you got to use your calculators. Where's mine? Here. So watch how I do this. 31,500 times 1819. I hit equal just to make sure. Then I go divided by 1,000. And it just shifts the decimal over really 3 spots. That's what it does when you divide. So this is $572.99 per month. That's a pretty big payment to make, right? And it's actually very, like, it's off by maybe $1 or $2, but it's fairly accurate. So that's the payment you make. It stays the same. Once they figure out the payment, it stays the same. You make that every single month, okay? So we figured out the payment. B, calculate the total amount paid back to the bank. And I want you to kind of see this. Total paid to the bank, okay? Total paid to the bank. That's the formula I'm going to use here. Should I write it out? Sure, I will. It's payment times 12 times years. That's what the formula calls for. No problem. 572.99 times 12 times how many years again? 5, right? Times 5. So think about it. 12 times 5 is 60. This here is 60. So it's 60 payments of 572.99. So let's go ahead and do that. 572.99 times 12. You can do this in one shot because it's all multiplication. So 34,379.40. That's a lot of money in 5 years. So let's go up here once real quick. Can we go up to A and just make sure we know that this represents our loan? Like whatever, once you subtract the down payment, this is what I call the loan that we took out. So we took out a loan of 31,500 and we paid back 34,000. What do we call that? Like, why are you paying back more? Why are we paying back more than what we borrowed? What do we call that? That difference? Interest. Yeah. The bank's profit. The finance charge, right? And I think you know that, right? Like, you probably think I'm trying to do a trick question here. No, this is what you paid the bank. So let's figure out the total interest you paid on the loan, right? So TI is payment times 12 times years. And the kicker here is you need to subtract the loan from it to actually get that difference, right, between the two. And so it's, again, copy paste of what I did before. Minus 31,500. And really, folks, this kind of happens, right? This kind of happens, and then we will subtract. So I will continue here. This piece right here, I already computed above. So I'm just going to use that. And now I'm going to get my answer, right? If I subtract what I paid the bank after the 5 years and what I ended up getting at the beginning, and that is $2,879.40. Finance charge, cost of borrowing, same thing. If you think about it, it's a brilliant way to make money. Because most of the time, the banks don't even use their own money. They use people that put in their money for savings. You think it's sitting there, right? You actually think they have a vault and they put the money. Yeah, some of it they have to have, but they take it and they give it to someone for their car loan. They pay it back to them and then they give you your interest, right? Like that. They're basically just the middleman, right? Or middlewoman, right? Just taking the money, making money off of it, right? So it's actually a pretty sweet way of, like, it's a good design. And people always need to borrow money, and there are always people saving. Although I think there will be fewer and fewer people saving these days. But if you are into saving, it's a very good habit to develop while you're young. All right, let's do one more example here. You know what? I'll let you do this one. Hold on one second. I'm just going to read it. Yeah, try this one. So this is based on that first example. Notice what changed. I'm going with a 3-year loan, not a 5-year loan. Can you do that right now? Just try that. I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to go over this so you can do the back side, which is longer. Okay, monthly payment. What changes is it's 3 years, right? So when you go over to your chart, it's still the same interest rate, but now it's 3 years. So it's 29.30. Do you see? Can I just show you here real quick? The less time you take to pay, right, the higher your monthly payment is, right? Because you have to pay it off quicker. You see that, right? So 18, 22, 29. So if you pay 1 year, you would pay more, right? So 29.30 per $1,000. So let's go ahead and figure that out. That is 922.95. Whoa, right? That's a lot of money. But you're paying it off faster. And you should think about it this way. If you pay off faster, you will pay less in interest overall. I hope that should make sense because you're not taking as long to pay it off, so they get their money back sooner, right? The total amount paid to the bank will go 922.95 times 12 times 3. I'm gonna, oh, I don't have this on my key, so I have to actually do this. Oops. Times 36, so that's 33,226.2, but you gotta add the 0. That's how much you paid the bank. Okay, paid the bank. Just follow make sure you read total interest, TI. If you know, right, total paid to the bank shows up again, right? I will write it out for you, right? Minus what is the loan? It's 31,500. So that's 33,226.20 minus 31,500. And when you subtract that, oops, It's only 1,726 and 20 cents. Okay. So compare that. Can we do this versus 34,379.40, right? This would be a 5-year. And then here versus 2879.40, right? This is the 5-year. I want you to start thinking about this because I'm going to also talk about how can we make sure we pay less interest overall. There's a couple of things you can do, one of which is paying it off faster, taking less time to pay it off. Okay, so remember what I said about if you start here, you're most likely going to finish it afterwards. You know what? I'm thinking I'm going to take you straight to page 20. Don't do that example that's on the next page. Just go straight to page 20. You will have to go back to page 14 or 15 where I gave you those formulas. Don't worry about taxes when it's financing, okay? So if you just do page 20, I'm gonna leave you alone, like no homework after that, okay?